Hi there, everybody. I am very pleased to be joined now by Loubna, who is the CEO of OKRA.ai, a new and very exciting company that is already doing some really great work in our industry, helping companies to really gain brand new insights and really understand what that next best move is in so many cases for them by using the power of multiple sources of data, of natural language, and of course of artificial intelligence to really enable our companies to do a lot better. And Loubna is a bit of a rising star in the world of AI, not just within her own company, of course, but actually beyond that, doing some work, I believe, at the European level. So Loubna, we are obviously in a difficult situation right now. It's a pandemic, and AI is touted as the technology that is most useful in times of uncertainty. Yet at the same time, we've had difficulties even with non-interoperable data sets in our everyday. So how can we use AI in this kind of situation? How can we actually find a solution here that is more hype and is genuine reality going to be able to help us?
Thank you, Paul, for the intro, and thank you for this very important question. First of all, this pandemic was mentioned by many experts, including the famous TED Talk by Bill Gates, around it will come, but we didn't know when, we didn't know how. And around Christmas time, no one could have predicted. So no human being, no AI could have predicted that. So still, in these uncertain times, AI could be very, very beneficial in many ways. What we saw just in the last 2 weeks, that we achieved a high elevated level of learning, both humans and machines. If we look at what we couldn't achieve for a decade around climate change, around changing the course of our policies, we could achieve in the last 2 weeks. Of course, there's a lot of loss of lives and a lot of things that our healthcare system been tested, our policies have been tested. And yeah, so how can AI can help in this situation? So I believe if we look to the way we do things today, for example, how governments dealt with the situation, they used epidemiological models to predict what policy they should use, right? Mitigation or suppression. Those methods, they make assumptions. They make bold assumptions. And most of the cases in crisis, those assumptions are not always correct. Mostly they will be wrong. So, and then it will lead to decisions that are not always right. What you need in crisis is you need to take decisions that are right, and you need to take them at speed. You don't have the time to, to get consensus. You don't have the time to think it through. So you need some technology that can help you do that, and AI can help. So how would AI do it? How can AI support governments in this situation? For example, it can start by cross-country learning. If the situation started in China, then we saw in Italy, that data could be leveraged, and an AI system could have learned, detected the patterns of the spread, and then when we see the first case on any country, the AI system could have predict what is the best policy to do. And not just that, with taking the data real-time live of the new cases, the number of deaths, it will adapt and suggest new strategies. So in that way, we have an adaptive way of learning and implementing the right policies. AI could do much more than just the government side. We can do, for example, it can help more on implementing those policies. So, for example, social distancing. We keep telling people stay at home, but they still, struggle because it means a change in behavior. And you could see big differences between what is in Europe and what's in China. And that's a big change, a big difference in culture. So AI can support there really well. For example, we saw in China, Alibaba and another company, they collaborated to create this app that predict or almost score the different persons and give them like a traffic light system around how likely they will have corona from their behavior. This wouldn't happen in Europe because this is against our privacy laws, and it's not working with the way we see AI system will be working. But in this way, I had a data scientist in my team that came back from China and told me, I'm going back. So she thought China is more safer to be than in the UK. She said, I could see in my app what is the different patients and how far they are. And now I lost control. There was a marathon in Cambridge and she said, people just went for a marathon. This is crazy. So can you imagine like the perception? So how AI as a technology already used in China, that you could see all the cases walking and the prediction score if they have corona or not. But of course, there are applications that we can use in Europe. For example, vulnerable mapping. We see what locations are more vulnerable for COVID, and we provide more support there, more on the NHS level or the healthcare system level. So you could see that you can implement, you can, beyond policies, using AI to support policymaking, you can use AI to implement the right policies, such as social distancing, by making people aware where there is more cases, by making them aware where they have high risk, but also supplying and providing the resources using AI that's possible. So yeah, there's different scenarios where AI can help reduce this uncertainty. But what I think this opportunity here is, as I said before, we see people changing behavior. We see that people at this moment realize this is a crisis, we need to do something. And that is an opportunity to bring in technology that would help. We saw with our systems at OKRA, for example, systems that are used by field teams to meet with doctors. At the moment with the crisis, we provide them with the corona flag, that they see that where there is high amount of patients and when there is no opportunity to see doctors, as well as providing them with all the key demographics for the patients there, so that they know what they can talk about. And when you are in your home, will not be able to go and see that real person. Having a system that can empower you and give you all the evidence at hand, it makes life much better. So how much uncertainty we can reduce for people right now, the better it is.
How do we practically focus on the right problem and find the right solution when there's such a wide range?
Look into our industry, how to make those decisions. So we can look into the life science or the pharma pipeline, from preclinical to real world. We could see that already a lot of effort has been on testing, what vaccines, trying to identify new treatments. It started with from what is commercially available, what combination of treatments would work. Yeah, and that is, I think that's the right track. We're already in industry that is evidence-based. We're already looking into, can we test some things? We don't need to have it all figured out. But you see that the big obstacle, it comes when we have to do the clinical trials and the validation to get it into the market. That's for me the big problem, because you start testing, you get some insight, but then you have to do that validation, which is very classical, and it is not assuming the worst case scenario. It's assuming like the normal, business as usual, but it is not business as usual. We do need to do things differently. And that's the part that is actually broken us. That's why we say 1 year from now, we will have a vaccine. Well, can we do something about it? I mean, is clinical trials really the framework that we should be doing here, or we should do something else? And I think that is the part that I struggle to understand as a machine learning person. But we saw that a lot of effort, and amazing how our industry jumped into, doing and trying things out, still under the regulatory frameworks that are blocking. So the question is, like, can we shorten that cycle much further than what we anticipate? We need to be more flexible here. We need to make the decisions faster.
And I want to ask about some of the work that you're doing in-house. You obviously have been working now with the pharmaceutical industry for quite some time, and you've obviously learned a lot from that process. So what is it now that you're working on, irrespective of the crisis, that is exciting and that you think is going to make a big impact for us going forward?
So at OKRA, we use AI for B2B connection of life sciences with other stakeholders in the ecosystem. So it's mostly interfacing software that life science professionals use to communicate with HCPs, with healthcare providers, for medical collaborations, for commercial collaborations, and for market access. And the stakeholders are doctors or investigators, but also could be payers, such as HBA in Germany or NICE here in the UK. So what does the system? It learns from a lot of data, learns from all the data that is available, from publications to demographics to environmental data. And when we connect it with the activity data from our clients, what they do, how they interact, we provide them intelligence on how to do things better, with the main goal, the outcome is clear, to bring the right drug to the right patients. And to link it to the crisis, for example, a lot of our users, they go and visit doctors in their GPs, in their practices or hospitals. So with the crisis, we implemented a Corona flag that gives the different field teams insight around how many Corona cases there, where they can connect remotely because there is no face-to-face visits anymore, where they can connect by email, or where they should not even try because people are busy doing other things. So that's an example. The exciting work that we are doing at the moment, I'm excited about all the products, but one particular product is the one that is used for new drugs. When you want to launch a new drug in the market, the AI system learns from all the data, and it tells you at phase 2, it predicts the price for the drug in that particular market, it predicts the target population, and also it suggests what kind of clinical trial design you need to perform in phase 3 in order to maximize the chance for launch. So yeah, very, very exciting products for the industry, and it's all empowering and connecting, because I believe personally that we have a very although it's our healthcare system now is tested on its resilience at the moment, but we do have a great healthcare system, the stakeholders together, that we can have free access to health to some extent, health services, and we need to empower that. We don't want this system to disappear. For example, another Alibaba app or another tech app that comes with their labs in the country, and then you use the app and then there will be no stakeholders. So imagine the problems at that level. Your data will be somewhere in China or somewhere else in the world, and even governments will not own or will not kind of contain and support the healthcare system. So it will not be a public service anymore. And that's the part that I think we should avoid from happening. And we need to strengthen our industry, our ecosystem with this technology.
I want to talk about something that you did mention when you were talking about the Chinese traffic light app not being able to exist here. And one of the reasons, of course, being GDPR and the privacy laws. Do we need to rebalance here? I have to be honest with you, I had a conversation with somebody who is a privacy law expert, and she recognizes that this is an emergency and that the rules change in an emergency. And so privacy becomes less important than solving the crisis in front of you. At the same time, once you breach privacy, it's hard to get it back. And, you know, in the UK, they've asked for 1.5 million people to identify the most vulnerable, and they've all been sent a letter, and they've been given special treatment by the government. And now they've sort of been identified to a population that they hadn't anticipated, you know, from the delivery driver to the neighbor across the street that is giving that delivery. You know, these people, when, you know, this was not anticipated, despite the best of intentions from those that decided to take this action. So what's the way forward? How do we maintain this spirit of collaboration without completely destroying the very important privacy situation that we have built up over quite some time?
Yeah, well, this is the one big dilemma, I must say. As part of the High Expert Group, I wrote a few articles around the China versus Europe model, because AI as systems, they take the values, you want them to take the values that is in that society. And in my analysis, I saw that in China, AI can, for example, scale widely because the culture is not, it's not about the individual, it's about the common population. That's how they make decisions. So what is right, even if it is bad for me, because it's good for the majority. That's why minorities have problems in China. So, and that's also why AI could be scalable, because you get those data sources. You say, okay, we're going to build a model. We're going to make it face recognition everywhere. We're going to do social scoring everywhere. So it is a different culture. If we look to Europe, it's different. It's with the Second World War, with all our history, we become very clear around personal freedom, about privacy, and every one of us here in Europe take it as granted. I am free. That's why social distancing was very hard to implement, because, this is your own right. You can decide. No, not government telling me to where to go. So that's, I think, a big difference in culture. And it reflects in measures, policy measures, it reflects in technology. So to get back to your question, this app that scores people, and it's used and it helped in the social distancing situation. Why is that a problem here? There is a big clash with our values. It won't be possible. And as you said, we will have situations like that. It will be used for purposes that are harmful. But we should realize we are in crisis. And in crisis, you need to take decisions fast. What is important, we need to define clearly what do we want to manage in this crisis. From a health perspective, we want to reduce the number of cases. We want to reduce the number of deaths. That's what is important in this situation. So doing all the measures that it takes, of course, minimizing the risk of all the other things that could happen. I would maybe introducing penalties of any sort if that data got breached or used for other purposes than that. I think that it is very crucial. But having clearly what do we want, and then using the technologies, the policies that we have to minimize the number of cases and to minimize the number of deaths, I think that is the way to go in this crisis, because you you also don't want this period to stay very long, because the economy needs to start turning again, and this is harmful for everyone. So I'm not sure if I answered your questions, but I think it is a dilemma.
There is no perfect answer, but it's really important to understand the different perspectives so that we can determine that right answer in the near future, even if we cannot do it today. So I think you answered very well. Thank you. Fantastic. I love that you're answering some really important questions in clinical development and in our customer communication that really will redefine, I think, what our industry does and how it provides value to patients. So thank you so much, Loubna. I really enjoy talking to you always, and really good to get your insights, particularly at this crisis moment when, as I said, AI has a brand new and potentially much more important role to play. So
my pleasure, Paul. Always fun talking to you and interesting. Thank you so much for this. And good luck.
Thank you very much. Good luck to you too.